Greetings everyone, and welcome to another week of BlastCast. Of course, I am Jairus, and with me as always is my bastion of common sense, Lightning Dragon. Alright, we just got through the Gamescom presentation, and we're going to go over some of the basics here, some of the things we thought about, but first let's get into the production update. Looks like they're down to 7 blockers now, 36 criticals, 20 high, and 4 moderates. So last week, I think they were on 12, so they've dropped it down a significant amount. If they keep up at this pace, hopefully we can start seeing Evocati within the next few weeks, but I probably just jinxed the whole process by saying that, so never mind. See you next year. Gamescom, in and of itself, one of the things they revealed was the faceware tech. Now, this was actually something that they had discussed a long time ago. I remember in Wingman's Hangar that they had talked about they wanted to do this technology, but it's good to see it coming to light. And while it's something that I think will add some very interesting immersion, if not just some overall weirdness as someone just stares at you wide-eyed with their mouth agape, which is totally what I would do. I would just walk up to people and would make the goofiest. I wonder if it can track if your eyes are crossed. That would... Well,
they did have it where if you looked at it like left or right, it did track where your eyes were going, so
yeah.
It might be smart enough to do that.
Yeah, I just keep thinking I could almost reenact that scene from Spaceballs. You know, where the gunner turns around.
Idiot, I said across her nose, not up it! Sorry, sir. Doing my best. Who made that man a gunner?
It's like, what's your name? He's an asshole, sir. You know, well, I knew what
Of course he's an asshole, but I wouldn't know his name. Asshole, sir.
Everyone on the floor is asshole.
How many assholes we got on this ship, anyhow? Yo! I'm surrounded by assholes. Keep firing, assholes!
It's one of those things that I definitely would end up mostly using it to be the most weird, crazy person. But the immersion factor of it is nice, and I like the fact that they've managed to also just make it so that the camera will also work as a version of head tracking as well, so you can look around the cockpit. Of course, they're going to be selling their own unit for this. It's going to be a 60 frame per second camera. And I'm not against that. I think it's great when they partner up with people. Except Mad Cats. I saw that as a disaster from day one because it's Mad Cats. Come on. Just Mad Cats. Come on.
I remember buying their controllers for my Nintendo 64, and they would die.
They were the ones that rattled when you move them.
Yeah, they did that too. They were so bad. They were really poor quality.
Oh yeah. Subpar in every sense of the word.
They're the reason why I only buy like name brand controllers now. Like Microsoft Xbox controller. I only buy the Microsoft controller. PlayStation, controller. I only buy the PlayStation version.
No, I agree.
Their quality control is just so much better.
Yeah. Well, Mad Cats is gone now, so here's hoping for better fortune for the new faceware tech company, and hope that they see much success with this system, because honestly it looks like a lot of fun. It really does. Having played,
it's also something they were working on their own, and they partnered up with CIG to do it.
Yeah. All right, and we have the 600i. Everyone kind of knew this was coming out because of that Origin 600 Reasons thing that they kept doing on Facebook, on Twitter and whatnot for like a week.
Also, real original name, guys. Classic.
But I managed to snag one of these myself. I got the Explorer variant. I had a sizable coupon that I've been holding on to, and I attached it to that and everything, so it ended up getting it for much cheaper than the standard rate.
Which is the only way I'd recommend it, because as usual, it's time for lightning rants about how ships are too damn expensive. This ship is too damn expensive.
Do I think I can make a theme song for that?
No.
Oh, okay. Go on.
Oh, you want me to talk more about it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, if we're just gonna go with me just slamming this thing, all right. It looks fine. I like how it's sleek, and the engine cluster thing looks nice. Though you're not gonna get the entire width because it really looks like those little engine pod areas are literally just engine pods. But also, it looks like it's a phone clip. The ship is the phone, and it's sitting in a clip. What's the deal with the freaking extra armor paneling? What's the deal with Ovaltine? Sorry. It's not an oval.
It definitely doesn't taste like a teen. Oh, wait a minute.
Sorry, very, very old joke. But yeah, I mean, you look at it. Okay, you can look at it in two ways. You can look at it as space armor, which is redundant because it's only on the bottom and part of the engine, so it's too much space armor. Or you can look at it as a heat shield. Well, spaceships in Star Citizen don't need heat shields; they have shields and armor. So it's redundant on two forms. So its only thing there is for style, and I get that, you know, Origin is the style company, but I'm sorry, it looks dumb. I don't like the ship. I think it's the most uninspired thing they've ever made. It's literally if someone had like two things of clay, they threw them on the table, one was smaller than the other one was bigger than the other one, and they smoothed them out. That is the ship. It's just two big piles of clay that have been smoothed out.
You see, that's the odd thing, because, you know, I like it, and Captain Tyler likes the design of the ship as well. So, I mean, anyway, that goes down to the eye of the beholder. But for all of you who haven't been subscribed to a gentleman named Teller, and I'll leave a link down below for you. You should check it out. He took the model and put it into basically the CryEngine, the wireframe model, and then put some models of scale models of Star Citizen characters inside it, and found that the ship would scale to roughly, actually closer to like 93, 94 meters if they were to make the interiors fit according to what they showed on that model. So, but that doesn't really surprise me if that's the case, because as you know,
they've had to make so many ships bigger. The Connie's had to get bigger. The Retaliator had to get bigger. We can't go an episode without me bringing the Retaliator up.
Yeah, the tradition has been fulfilled. We can now proceed with the show. But yeah, it's one of those things that, you know, he was showing it after he scaled it up that it's actually pretty close to the size of the Carrack. So, you know, if they have to scale the ship up like that, of course, that changes some things. It changes basically how much cargo it carries and things like that. So what I'm curious about, because he talked about it was a modular ship, is that if it's going to have BUKs very similar to what the Vanguard has, where if you have, say, the Explorer model...
Gotta bring in that dollar bills, yo.
Yeah, if you got that Explorer model, can you go ahead and, like, for $20 buy the luxury thing, and then you can swap it out? So I'm curious to know if that's the case, because I would be very interested as a job in the universe doing a VIP transport with the ship.
Like an Elite Dangerous.
Yeah, also I think that turret that have in the back should be moved up more towards the top center so it gets more coverage. I do like the fact that it's automated turrets, and it looks like it carries a ridiculous like 64 size 3 missiles, which makes it, you know, while it carries 3 size 5 guns and 2 turrets each sporting 2 size 2s, which is kind of small.
There's another ship that I think was supposed to have missiles in it, and they just disappeared. Do you know which ship that was?
The Retaliator?
I think it was, yeah. Very similar to how the Connie has its the missiles in the hull. I'm pretty sure that was part of the original pitch of the Retaliator.
Yeah, Retaliator did actually originally supposed to have missiles with it, so...
Then they decided, no, it doesn't deserve missiles.
Or turrets that are worth a damn. Anyway,
yeah, it has freaking worthless turrets and no shields, terrible
Every
armor.
new concept ship, man, this tears you apart, doesn't it?
They're all.
Maybe I should call it. Maybe I should mention the Retaliator report instead of the Hornet report.
Well, I own a Hornet, and I think the ship looks good. I mean, I have no problem with the Hornet, besides that, you know, thruster values, but that's a different thing. But like all their concept things that they have, they do this really pretty concept art, and it looks all amazing. But they can never translate that one-to-one. Obviously, the biggest contender of this is the Vanguard. And
if you go from picture to picture in the concepts, they don't even mesh up. Like, one will have like the gun top center, and then it will have a smooth top center. Like you know, I know their concepts.
The front top is also different. And
yeah, exactly.
It's domed. Sometimes it's flat.
So expect a lot of changes. That's what I'm trying to say here. There's a lot of changes that are going to happen on the ship, both in scale and even in the aesthetic design.
I don't think they're gonna just scale it up. Like in Teller's video, he just basically grabbed it and just pulled it, so it's taller, wider, longer. And I don't think CIG has ever just done that. Like with the Tally, they literally just made the Tally longer. That's all they did, and they didn't change the height or anything. So it could be that they just have to make it a little bit taller to accommodate to 2 floors. Because in the video, it looks like there's plenty of headroom on the top, but not quite enough on the bottom.
Yeah.
And it could just be that was a very rough estimate, just to get like, this is the general shape we want, and then they're going to continue on.
Well, as you said, there was that one concept that looked much flatter overall than.
Yeah.
So there's still obviously a lot of work to be done on it as far as concept goes. But at this point in time, they'll probably just start white boxing it out and then figure out the shape and go from there. So. Of course, being that the nature of the ship, it's probably not going to be even priority. It'll be on the back burner for a while. I hope they do give people who bought that ship an Aquila to basically use for exploration in 3.0 while they're waiting, because a lot of the functionality is similar. All right, so we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this demonstration. UFO ships. Now, I will give them a couple freebies here. First of all, there were bugs. They did happen, but that's the reason it's not even in the hands of Evocati yet, because there are bugs that are game-breaking. So
yeah, it's not ready to be tested.
Exactly. So it crashed, or at least one character, his computer froze up or whatever. Okay, fine. Don't care. That's why it's not ready yet, and they were just trying to show us functionality. So that was fine. They didn't show us a whole lot of incredibly new stuff. But I think what was great about this is you have a lot of people paying attention now to 3.0, and there are people who have, for example, backed the game under the original Kickstarter concepts, and they've been waiting for something that's more than just, say, Arena Commander in a small persistent universe. When they said, hey, here, we're going to go ahead and give you moons and things to explore, now people are paying attention because the forums are kind of exploding, and people are talking about all the ships basically flying sideways through the air, hovering like 1 inch off the ground, like a complete stop, nose straight down. People are
shall we also talk about the accuracy of the quote-unquote bad guys?
Oh yeah. The part where you see they're driving around the Ursa rover and they're getting shot at by the enemy ships. Of course, because interactive mode, all you had to do was put their cursor over the top of the Ursa rover. It would have been done in like 3 seconds. You see them in like for just a brief moment in one of the scenes, basically missing on purpose, or just kind of shooting around them in a circle. Like,
shooting directly ahead of
now,
it.
I get
many
it's for it's a scripted. They want to show off certain things, so they script it to a certain degree. But
when you have to miss on purpose, that's kind of bad.
Yeah, well, besides the vehicles, just for example, when you're hovering, it shouldn't, for starters, just be nose down and I'm going to sit here and that's the end of it. It should be very similar to what you would see in a helicopter or a Harrier.
Or some conveniently spliced in Kerbal footage where I made a VTOL vehicle.
Exactly. Alright, so basically Lightning went and decided to create a Star Citizen themed VTOL using Kerbal. And yes, we know Kerbal is not what we intend Star Citizen to be or whatnot, but we just want to show you how VTOL would kind of look, because as we'd mentioned
in
several videos ago, yeah, basically the V2OL, in fact all the thruster qualities are off the chain ridiculous. In fact, there's a gentleman who had done the math on it, showing how many Gs. I think it was something like in the 30s Gs alone that you could achieve.
Like 36
Gs, yes, straight up from the thruster values you have on the Hornet alone. So, which is obviously more than instant death for the pilot, and we've demonstrated that a few videos ago. So basically, what he's going to do here is show you the nature of that. Okay, here we go. All right, so a little pop you always get there, and
yeah, it's because the suspension. It starts it at the full extent of the suspension. So
when there we go.
When it drops down, it actually is real suspension working.
Yeah.
But this is actually an upgraded variant of.
Yeah. See, there's wobble. It's not entirely stable. You have to deal with your power, your settings, your height. There's a lot of dynamics that go into VTOL, and the way that Star Citizen has it pegged out for the most part, it really kind of feels. Often it feels like it's like space break. I'm going to hover right here. It's more than clear that their atmospheric flight model isn't complete, it isn't finished, but generally speaking, it needs to look something more like this. I know you're going to fly over this building trying to land it, right? You have that one you did. Oh, you're reverting. Why are you reverting?
Because I had, I'm using realistic fuel.
Oh, okay. You ran
So, I ran out of fuel, basically. Yeah, the thing about this, I believe it's like 24 tons.
Yeah. So you're going for the Hornet weight again.
Well, I think it just happened to be that way. And this design, obviously, I could improve it slightly. I didn't like how it was basically a bunch of tubes connected. So I added the little, their wing pieces, what they are. But just kind of have like an actual, like, quote-unquote, like, living section or whatever.
Yeah.
It actually is set up in that back section is actually a cargo container, and it's just completely empty. So it's very much in the style of the Connie, actually.
Well, the Hornet actually has that thing where you can switch the turret out for a cargo container in the middle too.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure this is bigger than the Hornet.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, this is, I mean, it's not VTOL in an atmosphere is a more delicate operation, and there's a lot of people talking about it, saying basically it looked like Descent. It was just I let go of the controls,
which is funny
everything
because
stopped.
Wingman left CIG
to make Descent,
Descent, and then Wing Commander, Wing Commander turned into Descent. No, the CIG is basically made Descent with all their fancy. Oh, it's gonna be a physics-based model and blah 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 blah. No, it's not.
Yeah. Now imagine the Ursa rover trying to get away from this, and this guy is he's spending a good chunk of his effort basically trying to keep the ship level.
The pilot would need to have 100% focus on keeping the ship in the air.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have to have someone in like a belly turret or
he wouldn't be doing this at all, and he would just be making long sweeping runs with forward momentum. He wouldn't just be because this is a very delicate operation. It's almost like, to a large degree, like landing. But constantly.
Yeah, always.
And it doesn't take much.
You'll see it even more here as
and you see his to the right there his previous attempt.
Yeah, the Mark I variant, which landed and then fell off the side.
Yeah, that went really well for you.
But like, I'm trying to adjust the throttle. I'm trying to adjust.
See, this is what we're talking about when it comes to mass right here. Like there's a shift here. This is how helicopters fly. You have to counteract your momentum. And this is the same way that of course, Harriers and V2Ls are. See, you can overdrift. You can basically where you angle too much, and this is a skilled operation. Something you're just not seeing right now. Just press the N button and land already.
What? The N button? Oh, because the Star Citizen N button.
Oh,
there, I cut
okay.
throttle.
Thank goodness for suspension.
Yeah, yay for working suspension.
Yeah. So, as you can see, it's not something that's easy. It needs to have at least some sort of level of skill on it. Does it need to be this hard? Not necessarily. I don't find what they do in Grand Theft Auto 5 to maybe be that difficult. But, I think something along the levels of Grand Theft Auto 5 would be fine too. And that game, all the vehicles and helicopters, and even they have a Harrier in there. It has a sense of mass, has a sense of momentum.
Actually... I'm pretty sure, as of this recording, we are getting a new DLC for GTA that's adding helicopters and plane customization and stuff.
Yeah, it's either now or it's next weekend. I can't remember exactly when it is.
It's today.
It's today,
the 29th,
okay.
Or whatever.
Oh,
whatever
okay.
today is.
Yeah. So, yeah, basically, this is the kind of thing that they need to go back and... What are you doing?
Oh, nothing. I'm just trying to save the people. I mean, why else would I go up here to try and, save the unfortunately flipped over vehicle, which doesn't have enough these maneuvering thrusters. So, for example, there's actually, there you go. That's the belly. Each of the VTOL engines are 90 kilonewtons of thrust down, and that's per engine, so 90 times 4, and they are gimbaled as well, so you have a big
that should be more than enough to get you into space.
Yeah, it is more than enough to get me into space, because it's enough to take me off the planet, which means
right.
I can get to space. But the little thrusters, those are 12 kilonewtons of thrust.
This isn't.
Oh, and that engine, I believe that engine's 1,000 kilonewtons of thrust.
This isn't gonna go well.
Well, I need a break so I can get them out of there, right? I mean, how else am I going to get the guys out of here? Let's just go full power. And oh no, the entire building exploded. Activate engines! Activate engines!
And somehow you instantly transfer over to the other fighter, which is just amazing. Okay,
Like
so yeah, that's the catastrophic results of bad piloting. So anyway, anyway, guys, so yeah, that's basically what it comes down to, and I think it's really good to seeing the amount of people that are starting to get involved in this discussion, because it's become clear, and particularly, okay. Let me go ahead and just stop this here. And
oh, but I'm getting to the best part.
Oh, what, do you crash it or something?
No, I make a perfect, amazing landing.
I doubt that.
You don't. What's the word?
I don't trust you.
My
I don't believe
Kerbal
you.
skills are amazing. you just can't believe it.
I think when I see a crater in the earth, I'm gonna believe it. That's what's gonna come down to.
No, I am the greatest. I am the greatest. But I mean, you can see. I mean, I'm doing a lot of like left and right rotations to kind of like, control my direction.
Over.
Yeah. And you have to
right
do that
left.
because the left and right thrusters aren't the same as the flippin' engines.
I gotta
Best
play.
landing you've ever seen.
I gotta start playing this game more. I really do.
You do have it, right?
I do. I'm inundated with so many other things.
Oh, I know. I've got so many games.
Good gravy, land already, sir.
Well, I'm trying to land where I'm not gonna like flip over and roll or crash, but I started playing Subnautica again.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess you proved me wrong, or else you're back into a building or something.
Nope, totally perfect landing.
Oh,
I am
refreshing.
the greatest.
Yeah, so get out there in the forums, start talking to your thoughts on this, because basically the lack of consequence from maneuvering was really apparent in the flight model. And of course, then they showed us the Idris flying, which was fun, because the Idris has only been running for a week. So let's just put that out there right now. The Idris was a good and bad thing. Obviously, they clipped through the catwalk, or the catwalk, but the entrance ramp. But yeah, not having your meshes figured out, your physics meshes figured out with the ship only running for a week, I totally get it. That's fine. Seeing it fly was great. What was disconcerting was the two Idrises fighting one another,
Which was faster than the dog fighting.
Yes, and I didn't look like they had any shields running on the ships yet. From what it looked like, I didn't see any shields light up. And basically, it ended as quick as a dogfight did. You had two large ships. Yeah, it was just, I don't know. Two large ships like that, particularly with railguns, Idris M's, would be engaging from, if you got a railgun, you didn't get a railgun to engage from 5 feet away. You got a railgun to engage.
We've regressed into medieval combat. It is horses and lances, aka the Idris M.
Yeah, so I mean, like we saw them using a railgun early on when they were like trying to get away from the Cutlass, and I think the guy self-destructed because the guy in the Ursa rover clearly wasn't hitting him.
I have another theory. Obviously,
desync?
You can, well, maybe desync, but that's probably the most likely explanation. But I'm wondering if he didn't crash into a rock and explode.
It's possible too. It's possible too. But yeah, and then of course they went back through and they did a second battle. They said they're going to stop the stormtrooper shooting, and they were going to go ahead and attempt to see who wins. Of course, the good guys, quote unquote, won again, but they rammed each other in the middle. I was like, oh, why are you guys flying like this? No, I saw it coming too. I was like, they're going to ram each other, aren't they? They're going to ram each other, and when you see an explosion like that, to me, it's just like, okay, guys, you need to come up with something like 2 sets of hit points. Like, you have your disabled hit points, like a component or something gets to be disabled, and then have something that has multiples higher than that. That's called destroyed.
Well, we talked about this a little bit in the gunnery episode, didn't we?
We talked about this a few times.
Well, yeah. My thing that I've said is you have all your separate hit point pools. So you have your shield hit points, they'd be the first to go. Then you have your armor hit points. These are locational. and then depending on what kind of armor you have, obviously. And then if you've gone through the armor, you would have a structural. Like if it's a wing's not going to have any structural hit points. It's not a necessary thing, unless that we actually get an actual, atmospheric flight model. But like if you're hitting like center mass where there's like engines or the reactor or whatever, then you have like structural damage, and that's where you'd have like the percentage. Or like if you have, let's say, just say 50% structural damage, you are like between 100% and 50%. Your systems are like in Interstellar Rift, your systems start getting screwed up to the point where they don't even work anymore, or they're intermittent for how they work. Like your radar might be flickering and flashing, or maybe just not working at all. Maybe you have like half as much thrust or something. Then you get down to where you're at that 50% and the entire ship just goes poof, and it just shuts down, and you're completely free drift. And now what they could do is they could add a manual override where you force the ship to turn back on and you risk it basically exploding. Or basically you just go, okay, well, I'm just going to bail out. So you actually have some time to get out of the ship before it, quote unquote, explodes.
Yeah. To me, seeing a large ship like that just utterly get vaporized in under a minute was really disheartening.
Under a minute? More like 20 seconds.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that, and I would, once again, have to give them this critique with a grain of salt, first week ship flying, but capital ships battles, those battles are supposed to be epic. They're supposed to take time and effort and energy, and it looked just so much like the mechanics look like a scaled up fighter. I mean,
they were gigantic hornets.
Right,
and anyone who owns here of an Idris and then a Hornet next to it, and just scale the Hornet up to the size of Idris, and you're flying a gigantic Hornet.
Yeah, well, but pretty much too, it was like maybe a Super Hornet, because they had like two people operating it, one guy in a turret and one guy flying it.
Yeah.
So it was like, obviously they don't, with the net code being as is, they couldn't fully crew it or whatnot, because all that,
which is understandable. I mean,
yeah, all that's understandable
for that.
But I mean, it really felt like a really slow fighter combat, and I don't know. They need to come back to look at their pacing and what their focus is, because it comes down to the whole identity thing. I think there's they got a lot of ideas, they got a lot of concepts, and all these concepts I feel would work really well if they just focused more on realism and less on arcade. They could start mixing these things up a little bit.
Like if you want a fruit salad, right? You're gonna put fruit in it. You're gonna put the fruit you like in it, and you're not gonna put the fruit you don't like in it. But when you start adding like beef and corn and ranch dressing, it's not a
dead squirrel.
yeah, sure, some roadkill.
That's interactive mode, by the way.
It's no longer a fruit salad. Yeah, all those things may be good individually, except for maybe the roadkill. But when you mix them all together, you just have a ruined meal.
I just get the visual of someone coming out and setting that in the middle of the dining room table. Just squirrel tail sticking straight up.
On top of it, with
with a cherry on top.
Here you go.
Yeah, so yeah, it's one of those things that they're really going to have to start getting focused, because the more and more the community is starting to see it, and I'm glad for that. But this is why a long time ago I said that I feel that in some regards Arena Commander was damaging to the game, because they started focusing everything around a lot of hardcore Arena Commander people who don't even play it anymore, by the way.
Yeah, they're gone. They're
gone, for the most part. There's still a few around, but for the most part, they're gone. And for those of us who stuck around, and those of us who've, a lot of us who've just been waiting for it to be a game that's somewhat sim-like, doesn't have to be DCS, but
as much as I complain, I still have all my ships. I still have all my packages. I haven't bailed out of this ship yet. I'm only critical because I want the game to be better.
Exactly. Same way that a parent doesn't hate their child because they tell a child they're doing wrong. But there was a great post put out here by MHE. I'm also going to leave the link down below, where he took some of the numbers and broke down the thruster values and what you would end up with for like the Hornet, and basicg came up with some very interesting numbers. Let me give you some more here. The forward thrust on the Hornet would be 25 Gs. That's insane.
Of acceleration, by the way.
Yeah, 25 Gs. And if you did it's 34 Gs on the boosters that were 5,410 kilonewtons, the ones that were that push up. and that was 335 meters a second. That's nuts. And that's a boost value. The normal value is 22.7 Gs. So once again, yeah, he and I agree on this, and he had sent me a message basically where he was saying that, you know, Pritchett has done a good job. I mean, he has. Even Alienware acknowledges that Pritchett has done a good job. But the problem is that, you know, garbage in, garbage out. And the garbage isn't Pritchett. The garbage are these values. So I know we dipped back into the flight model thing again. We apologize. I said we probably wouldn't, but it was too obvious in this demonstration.
It's relevant to the Gamescom presentation because we have UFO ships. I mean, maybe there is no atmospheric flight model yet. Maybe that's to come.
Yeah.
But you know what? They haven't shown me anything to make them believe otherwise.
No.
I don't think there's going to be any difference between atmospheric and space. Maybe there's going to be a different speed cap, but I'd argue that the speed caps are ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I think like universal speed cap in space, and I could see like an atmospheric speed cap where the ships have differentiations would make sense too, based on their aerodynamics, you know, which would be an interesting distinction. You know, because you'd have like, okay, say everyone caps out at 1,000 meters in space, just to make it easy, right? And then because of net code, whatever. But in the atmosphere, like a Connie may only do, you know, like 350 because it's not necessarily, you know, it's the best it can do, like all the way up, boosted and everything. And something like a Saber can do something, you know, much
the speed
faster.
cap values we have right now would be better suited to an atmospheric flight model, but not for space.
Yeah. So maybe they'll come up with some happy medium on that and come up with universals for space. And I don't know. I'm hopeful. Their side of me is like spooked that that's not going to happen. That, you know, that this is it. And you've got all this wonderful mechanics. You've got all these
my prediction is
we're not
going to get a flight model until we get beta, when a bunch of people come in and just explode.
Yeah. As I said for the longest time now, when 3.0 comes out, the forum boards are going to light up, and I've already got kind of a preview of that with this demonstration because they have lit up. And when people get their hands on it, people have been waiting. I think you're going to see a forest fire on the forums that has never been seen before. So, but like it or don't like it, it's important as backers that you get out there and voice your opinion. If you don't get out there and discuss these topics and try to learn, like some of my opinions have changed over time because I've read some of the arguments that people have made, and I've looked at them, I've judged their merits, and I've changed my positions on some things. And sometimes, you know, we get emotionally invested and wrapped up in what we feel is the best way for something to fly, or best way to something to be implemented into a game.
Yeah,
but,
for example, you know, what I would want is probably not exactly what Jarvis wants, but they're probably pretty close. But
right.
The thing is, if Jarvis and I sat down and came up with a flight model and said, here you go, CIG, we fixed the flight model for you, and they said, great, it looks awesome, we'll implement it, and then they implement it across the entire board, how many people out of the million-something people that have backed Star Citizen or whatever are going to have the exact same opinion of us? I guarantee you it's not going to be 100%.
No. But the idea is to come up with something to get CIG to recognize that their pacing stemming from fighters and their thruster values in interactive mode all the way down, all the way to going all the way to the top, has rotted their flight model. And I really, truly, and thoroughly believe, for the most part, they need to almost go back to formula, except Pritchett's formula. This is fine. They can start with that. They got formula right there. But let's start with some good control interfaces, universally accessible systems, good virtual stick, good thruster values, figure out what our pacing is going to be, make sure it all works with turrets and things, and go from there. Because it really feels like, looking at this too, it's a little too glued on. But like I said, that sounds all harsh and stuff. I enjoyed the demonstration. I did. It was fun seeing what I saw. But as I said, there was also those moments where I just kind of went, you know, I couldn't help it.
Like
I gripped my
dialogue,
teeth.
The
Don't do the dialogue. Please don't do the dialogue. For the love of Pete, why when these game developers are going to stop having people role playing? It's painful. It hurts. it makes me want to turn the sound off. It is like nobody talks like that in a game. They'll be talking about other things like, you know, hey, did you watch the news last night? Or hey, did you see this new game's coming out? No one sits there and oh, I'm sorry. It was. I know it's. It was painful.
It was an RP thing to get into the mood and stuff, but
it got me so out of the mood.
it was a little bit cringy in places. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. I was not in the mood for love after seeing the spectacle. So anyway, guys, leave your thoughts down below. What did you feel about the presentation? What did you like? What didn't you like? Do you feel that the Idris battle was okay just because the shit's only been functional for a week and obviously they've got a lot to tweak, or you just happy to see it flying?
It's quote unquote a destroyer, and destroyers didn't survive long in fleet battles, and we should expect that. And things. Well, actually, it's not even a destroyer; it's a corvette. The destroyer is the next one up from that. I mean, we haven't even gotten into cruisers and battleships and carriers.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens, but we'll go ahead and see if we can get itself a Citizen's Corner out this week. There just hasn't been a lot of questions, or at least most of them have been like, really good job on the video. Don't get me wrong, I love reading that, but that's not something, I'm not going to quote that 35 times and answer it. So, all right, guys, we will catch you next time on whatever video may actually be coming out. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.